Greetings and humble salutations. My name is Lesiana Jules. I'm a fourth year criminal justice scholar from Miami, Florida. In regards to whether African Americans learn beneficial skills from slavery, I believe that African Americans did not learn any sort of beneficial skills from slavery. When looking at slavery as a whole, we see that is a deeply oppressive system which entire objective was to deny African Americans of any sort of basic human rights and or dignity. When referring to the resilience and the strength that was demonstrated by African Americans, we have to understand that despite the adversity, individuals developed skills that were primarily survival rather than any sort of beneficial skills that would have helped them in advancement in today's society. During the time of slavery, African Americans faced unimaginable hardships and were often denied access to resources and other various opportunities of personal growth. These resources would have been such as education or any sort of knowledge that they could have gained, which would have helped them advance within society back then and now. However, individuals were forced to learn skills that included agricultural work, craftsmanship, and navigating such an oppressed system. However, these skills were not beneficial to an individual's personal and or professional development or growth. Rather, slavery led to an immense injustice and both physical and psychological suffering for these individuals. These individuals were often forced into labor-intensive tasks and oppressive conditions of slavery, which limited their opportunity of advancements. However, African Americans showed a lot of resilience despite the harsh conditions. African Americans during the time of slavery were not only denied access to education, but often faced harsh punishment when attempting to learn. If individuals tried to learn how to read, tried to learn how to write, they were often punished severely, despite the fact that they were already being punished for the labor works that they were doing and placed into such harsh conditions, but they were also overly punished if they tried to seek any sort of advancements that would help them advance in society. This, as a whole, hindered an individual's ability to gain beneficial advancements. The lack of educational opportunities created a cycle of disadvantage. This can often be seen when we look at urban schools, which are often faced with a lack of funding, overcrowded classrooms, and inadequate resources, drastically hindering the quality of education. These schools also face challenges such as higher poverty rates, limited access to extracurricular activities, and a lack of community support. Therefore, this lack of educational opportunities did not only create this cycle of disadvantage, but also created one that progressed even in today's society. When we're looking at segregation and discriminatory practices, even at the end of slavery, we see that it continued to limit African American access to quality education and resulted in educational disparities. We can see that even in today's society, education is often better when it comes to schools that are predominantly white rather than when we look at schools that are predominantly black, because the focus on education isn't as strong or as serious because of the resources that these schools unfortunately lack. Slavery can also be seen to have a long-lasting impact in our society today. The effect of slavery can be seen through systematic racism, social economic disparities, and social inequalities that continue to thrive in our society today. These effects can not only be seen in education, but we see it in employment, we see it in housing, and we even see it in the criminal justice system. In today's society, we are often exposed to racial disparities in arrest, convictions, and even in sentencing. African Americans are unfortunately disproportionately affected and often face harsher penalties and longer lasting sentences compared to their white counterpart. Two individuals who are committing the same crime can often be sentenced to different sentencings, one that is a lot harsher than the other solely based on race. This often leads to a higher rate of incarceration for African Americans. This is often a result of the systematic bias and unequal treatment within our system. This is why it is so important that as a society we learn our history, but not only as a society, but as African Americans as a whole, to understand the contributions, struggles, and resilience of African Americans within history. Learning about our history provides a more comprehensive and accurate representation of our collective past. It promotes empathy, cultural understanding, and helps to lead to racial equality. By learning about our past, we can help develop skills that will hinder us from repeating the past. Slavery, while it did not create beneficial skills, what we learn from slavery can help take us out of this disadvantage that we are placed in society and create skills that would help us to advance as a society. Unfortunately, in many instances, we can see that we have to work harder in order for us to advance in society because of the disadvantage that a system such as slavery has placed African Americans in. By learning about African American history, we are also able to destroy the stereotypes, dismantle systematic racism, and work towards a more inclusive society. Teaching African American history allows for a more complete understanding of history that is often overlooked or even minimized in our traditional history curriculum. In today's society, we see that slavery is often brushed upon and not really understood and taught in a way that would help us to not only understand our past, but help to progress us as a society today and as African American people today. Slavery has had a devastating effect on African American people. It stripped away their dignity, their freedom, and their rights. It caused for the exploitation of labor, which hindered economic developments for African American communities. And it also involved the forced labors, abuse, and dehumanization of African Americans. African American people that were enslaved experienced trauma, anxiety, loss of identity due to the conditions that they unfortunately endured. They were constantly subjected to fear, violence, which caused psychological scars that were passed down throughout generations. This can contribute to the negative mental health and well-being of African American people today. Enslaved individuals experience deep trauma, feelings of powerlessness, and denial of humanity. This is why the idea or the theory that African Americans benefited from slavery is absolutely inaccurate, in my opinion, because it created a society that degrades African American people, and we continue to struggle with this idea as we continue to try to progress even after hundreds of years of the end of slavery.